Can't wait to talk a little recruiting today. There's some thought out there that we may have some commitments coming into Alabama very shortly.
Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, recruiting never stops. And it feels like Alabama's about to be unstopping even more here very shortly. There's got to be another way to say that. But June 1st, Anthony Turbo Rogers will be making his commitment. And now it does feel like Alabama. You and I talked about it on the podcast the other day. Weren't sure this thing was headed. It was sort of like up in the air, but it does feel like it's going to end up being Alabama.
I think it's Alabama. I'm not 100% certain. This isn't something I'm telling y'all to take to the bank, but today, I think this is going to be Alabama. It's what we're leaning to at Bama Insider right now. Is that Turbo is going to choose Alabama. That's our guess today. That's him telling me not to give it away. Actually, we don't really know. It could be Auburn, could be Florida. I think is a real player for Turbo. I like him a lot. I'm surprised that we like him to the point that we're ready to take a 2025 running back. This is a 2025 guy. This is a player that will be a junior this fall at Pike Road. And good program, lots of good players there. Oh, actually, I said Pike Road. He's going to IMG. That's big news. And it's going to improve him. As a matter of fact, I'm excited about that a little bit in the sense that I think just the experience at IMG is going to make him a better player. He'll be introduced to playing and practicing with other elite players around him. It's only going to make him better. He'll get high-quality coaching for sure. One interesting thing about him, Luke, he's a little small. He's right about 185 right now, which would make him small for an Alabama running back. But he runs track in the spring, by the way, at 10.700 meters time. That's why they call him Turbo. A little light, but he gets light purposefully during the spring. He's really serious about track and doing well in events. So he doesn't muscle up during the spring. He tries to lose weight and become a better sprinter for his track team. Once he has full-time football and not participating in track any longer, I suspect he's going to put on a little more weight and keep it. I'm going to guess he's going to end up playing in college around 200 pounds, which again makes him a little light for us at running back. But it's also a recognition, Luke, that football's changed. Nick Saban has changed in terms of our offense and what we're building. He's what I would call a spread back, which means he plays in space. He's good catching the ball. I think a lot of people might want to compare him to Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think that's fair. I do think that's fair. But I think he's also a little tougher to Turbo. I think he's a little tougher, a little bit better inside runner. I think it's a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs with a splash of Josh Jacobs. Now that makes him sound like a 5-star, and I don't mean that. I just mean that's what his style of play is like, and that's what I think we'd be getting, a spread back that's got some Gibbs-like skills and some Josh Jacobs toughness.
I was watching some of the. I know you thought I was muted, and I was, but I couldn't.
No. I knew you weren't muted, but I was announcing the end of my essay.
I think that's good. That's what you need to. You need to give me a 1-minute warning.
Yeah. Oh, sometimes I'll go 7 minutes. And sometimes I go 4 minutes, and I go, that's enough.
While you were talking about him, and one day I'm going to learn how to put videos onto this thing so that people can see the videos when we're talking about somebody. I've just recently learned how to put pictures up. And so I was so proud that I found this picture right here. Boy, he looks pretty cut up right there, doesn't he? Anthony Rogers?
Yep.
But I watched some videos while you were talking. And, the first thing that popped into my head was he runs like a track star. Not that he's fast. He is fast. But it's like his running style looked like that of a guy who's running track when he was, when he gets into, if he finds a crease, it's over. Um, but running backs usually have like a certain style, and it's not always perfect form in terms of the way you'd run in track. Not that I'm some track expert, but he runs even with his pads. Like when he gets in the open field, it's like he's on the track, the way he runs. So it's interesting. He loves to do the thing that, as far as I can tell, Julio Jones was one of the first ones to do it in 2000, I think 2009 against LSU, when he caught the little short pass from McElroy and was able to break free and scored a touchdown. He sort of puts head down like he's gonna, and puts his arms out like he's crossing the stripe,
like breaking the tape at the
breaking
end
the
of the
tape.
race.
Yeah. But he does that just about every time he scores. And the thing is, I know his highlights, but like I saw 10 highlights and they're all long touchdowns, couple kickoffs, couple short passes.
He's a
Obviously
home run hitter. We're about to talk about Kevin Riley, who's also a home run hitter in that way. And I love the home run hitters because, I mean, hey, you can be at their 1 yard line or your 1 yard line, and he might score. So home run hitters at running back like Gibbs, they're fun. But what you want ideally, Luke, is a home run hitter who's also going to be pretty good about getting you tough yards, and that could end up being a star player at the next level because there's some toughness to him. I don't think he's just the home run hitter. I think he might be a guy that might surprise you on 3rd and 2.
Yeah, I think he's the kind of guy that can, for sure, get you a couple of yards. He's just so tough to see. Like a couple of times in these highlights, he was just difficult to find.
Yeah.
He gets into the crowd and he just sort of disappears. Next thing you know, he's running for a touchdown. So
right. Another compliment about him is, we talk about what he is a track star and he runs track. And if you tell me, hey, this running back is a track guy, I get sort of turned off. I get turned off because to me, running backs are born. You can't make one. You can't have the best athlete on the team and say, hey, you know what? We're going to make you a running back. Works at the SEC level and the NFL level. I think there are natural running backs, guys that are born. They come out of the womb and they're born, and the day they're at the hospital, while they're crying, what they're really saying is, guess what? I'm a running back. And they just fall out of the womb that way. And
they just don't speak English yet.
That not just yet. They have to learn English over time, and then they announce that they're running backs formally when they're 2. But I think Turbo, he is a natural back. You watch him play running back, and you're like, there is no other position I'm going to put this guy. He is a running back. That's what he does, and he just happens to be fast enough to run excellent track times.
Jimmy, I now need everybody about Bird Dogs. Look, they sent us some free merch because they came on as a sponsor, and I can't wait to order some more. I love it. It looks good. My wife loves it. It's just awesome, and it's so cool. It feels great. I look better. I feel better. They got this stretchy fabric that is sort of a hip thing now, but it's like high quality. Give me the freedom to wear one pair of shorts or pants on the golf course. It's just that you can do anything with them. I mean, they're casual, yet they look good enough to where you can wear them, out to if you want to go somewhere decent on the beach, you could wear these out there. I'm telling you, when I got them the other day, I was thinking, okay, I don't know what I want to think about these because I got a weird frame, and I put them on, they fit great. And I quit wearing them, except when I come to work where I typically wear jeans. I've been putting on these shorts every single day. Dave Portnoy, from Barstool, he does pizza wearing Bird Dogs and talks about how he hates the pizza, but his legs look great in his Bird Dog pants and shorts. College football nerds say they're perfect pants for dads and that have a little bit of an extra gut. That'd be me. Bird Dogs make them look great and feel comfortable. So the Pardon My Take host, PFT famously never wears pants. The only shorts he truly loves are the Bird Dog shorts. And I'm telling you, these things are awesome. You want to go to birddogs.com/lockedoncollege, birddogs.com/lockedoncollege. You will love these things. And you can get all kind of different products, and they feel fantastic. So take our word for it. Please help support our sponsors, birddogs.com/lockedoncollege. On tomorrow's podcast, we'll keep up with Jimmy's countdown. We're going to talk about Bray Hubbard in the final segment today. But Jimmy, I'm going to give you a minute to talk a little bit about Kevin Riley. This is the running back who's the top running back in the state of Alabama this year. He's out of Tuscaloosa. What are the odds he'd be committing relatively soon?
Good. Now, what I don't know, what I'd like to find out, it really doesn't matter with him. I believe he has a committable offer, meaning he could commit to Alabama today and not wait until camp. The vast majority of kids have to participate in camp to get the green light to commit. But I think Kevin Riley could probably commit to Alabama. If not, what I suspect is he'll be given the green light a few minutes after being at camp, because it'll take him about that long to prove that he is exactly what you see on tape. Look, let's be honest. I know that a lot of Alabama fans would like us to sign Nathaniel Frazier, who might be the number one running back in the country from modern day in California. Look, running back works a little different than other positions. It works similar to quarterback, similar. And in that, y'all just have to understand that we signed in the last group, Justice Haynes and Richard Young. We signed two of the top 5. Every junior running back in the country is 100% aware of Richard Young and Justice Haynes and how good they are. So it was always going to be really difficult for Alabama to sign more national elite blue chippers. We have to be a little selective and maybe find guys or sign guys who we think are that good. They just might not be ranked where those guys are. And that's exactly what we have here in Kevin Riley. He's not a national top 5 guy, but he might be. He really might be, particularly when he gets to the next level and gets even better coaching training. In terms of style, I'm going to compare him to Kenyon Drake. I think he's a lot like that. I think he's a sprinter. I think he's an open field guy. All he needs is the crease, and then he's smoked. He also catches the ball extremely well. He's the home run hitter like we talked about with Rodgers. And I think for me, Luke, where I'll get really, really excited about running back in this group, because it won't again, maybe next year, but not Haynes and Young in this class. They're not. We're just not going to. Nathaniel Frazier's just not ultimately likely to choose a place where he's got older kids in front of him with that level of reputation, because he knows he would have a difficult time getting on the field. But I think if Alabama signed Kevin Riley from Tuscaloosa County and Daniel Hill from Meridian High School, so basically you're talking about two local kids to Tuscaloosa, really. I think that will be awesome, because Kevin Riley is your home run hitter. Daniel Hill is your move the chains guy. And that's what you need the year after signing Justice Haynes and Richard Young is go get your role players, go get your committee guys, go get your, hey, we need a big play, put in Kevin Riley. Hey, we need a first down, go put in Daniel Hill. That would be an ideal duo for me. And the good news is I think we're a strong leader on Kevin Riley, and probably lead for Daniel Hill, although South Carolina is doing a great job recruiting him, and they're doing some convincing on him. So I'm a little worried that South Carolina might beat us on Daniel Hill. But Hill's an Alabama fan. His folks are Alabama fans. I think in the end that'll win out.
Kevin Riley from Tuscaloosa and Northport, 5'11", 195, now 24/7, which, Jimmy, you better start getting familiar with, not to spoil anything. I mean, is that crazy? You're shaking your head at me.
No. I like on threes rankings.
I know. I'm with you. I'm just putting this out there. So anyway, Kevin Riley, number 105 player in the country. It is funny that you said Nate Frazier, because I just pulled this up. He is ranked the number 10 running back in the country by 24/7. That's weird.
I watched the tape. And my view of the tape I've seen, I would put him number 1. That's
okay.
Jimmy Stein rankings. I think Frazier's the best running back in the country in this class. Now, I said that without knowing where he's ranked by all the services. But to me, Nathaniel Frazier's the best one. I've seen a lot of Alabama fans going, "Ooh, we're going to get Frazier." I've just doubted we could get a kid ranked like he is from California to come here in the class after Haynes and Young. I think it's just really, it's like outside linebacker this year too. I mean, what outside linebacker is looking at Alabama going, "Oh yeah, look, they signed Keon Keeley, Quay Russaw, and Yonze Pierre last year. I'm going to go get in that line." I mean, outside linebacker is another spot where this year we're going to sign good players there, no doubt, but you probably won't hit the home run that you hit last year at the spots like that, right? Like, it's just, it happens at quarterback, more than any other position, really.
Well, here's the thing that was going to be my point. I'm not sure now. I'm looking at 24/7's rankings. I'll pull up on threes, but I don't know that there's a home run running back this year. Looks like last year was a much better year for running backs.
Yeah.
Taylor Tatum is the number one running back according to 24/7, and I'm just going to pull up on threes here. But it feels like running back was better last year.
Oh, it is a cyclical thing, and it can change year to year. For instance, I don't think, to be honest, as crazy as this sounds globally, I don't think it's a gray year period, in 2024. I don't think there's a lot of positions. There's some positions, wide receiver is really good. There's some positions, tight end is extremely good. But a lot of positions like defensive line, offensive line, running back, it's just not a deep year of superstars, in this class nationally. But yeah, it can definitely be cyclical in terms of, hey, this year it's really good for the Elite 11 quarterback. I would say this Elite 11 group as a whole isn't as good as it normally is. Now, 5 or 6 guys at the top, including Julian Sand, are exceptional, but not as deep. There's only 11 guys invited to Elite 11 this year. It's the first time that number's been that low in a while.
I do love On 3 has their NIL value associated with each player. For Julian saying it's $171,000. That's crazy. Julian Saying had a nice video the other day. It looked like Doug Flutie slinging the ball around out there. Of course, there was no defense. He was just throwing to a receiver, but I like what I saw. He's very easy to like.
He's shockingly athletic. One thing about Julian Saying is he's probably not going to run a 4.40. He's not that kind of athlete. He's not a track athlete, but as a quarterback doing quarterback things, he's a shockingly good athlete. Very similar to NFL guys. You know how you wouldn't say somebody like, I'm just going to pick a random guy out. You wouldn't say Daniel Jones. Well, that's an exception because he is fast. Sam Howell at the Washington Commanders is going to be the starting quarterback this year. I don't know that anyone anywhere says one of the best athletes in the world is Sam Howell. No one's ever going to say that. But when you watch Sam Howell play quarterback, one of the things that will strike you is what an athletic dude. I mean, he could do anything. Pick up a tennis racket, he can pick up a golf club, he could probably get a lacrosse in a week, he'll probably step in the batter's box and hit a college level, fastball. And Julian Saying's like that. He's just a really good athlete.
All right, Jimmy, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about, speaking of guys who are really good athletes, we're going to talk about Bray Hubbard. And we're back. Before we get into Bray Hubbard, shout out to the baseball team, 4-0 win over Kentucky last night. That was great. It was, this team really has come together. I'm not a big baseball guy overall, but man, I'm starting to dig this team, just the way they've gutted this thing out and persevered. The Brad Bohannon thing, it could have just derailed this whole program. And in fact, they've used it to really kick it up a notch, which I appreciate. But anyway, so they'll play Florida a little later on today. Bray Hubbard, he's made it to your account here. And from Ocean Springs, Mississippi, I got to call him in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game last year. He was shockingly good to me. I really was. I was super surprised how good he was. You guys had him as the number 296 player in the country. I think, again, I'm not going to pretend I know the other 295 guys. I feel like he's better than that, Jimmy. I feel like Bray Hubbard is the kind of guy that if he played this year, it wouldn't shock me.
There's some guys, file of guys that would be underranked. He's a perfect example because In high school, he didn't play the position he's going to play in college. In high school, he's a quarterback, and he's playing safety at Alabama. So the people doing the rankings didn't get to see him do safety stuff, even though he has really nice safety measurables in terms of his size, his speed, and athleticism, scream safety. But he played quarterback, so that's one thing. Secondly, Mississippi's kind of a strange state in terms of high school rankings. I think a lot of kids in Mississippi get overlooked as opposed to kids in Alabama or Georgia, Florida, Louisiana. I think Mississippi, just for whatever reason, doesn't get the recruiting coverage other states get. I think that's a factor. Here's another thing. Everybody that was recruiting Bray was sort of recruiting him as some group of 5 interest and FCS interest as a quarterback. And then he's a big Alabama guy. He gets talked into, hey, trying out to be a safety at Alabama and hits the audition out of the park and gets an immediate takeable, offer from Nick Saban. He sort of committed to Alabama to be a safety before recruiting really started for him. I think had he announced, hey, world, I'm going to play DB, I'm going to go to the Nike camps and the underclassmen camps and the rivals camps and on-3 camps and 24/7 camps, and then I'm going to go to Alabama's camp, LSU's camp, Tennessee, Florida State, and USC, and then I'm going to make a decision. I think had he done all that and gone through with it, we'd have been talking about a national top 100 player, because I think had he had that sort of exposure as a safety prospect, I think he would have been national top 100. I really believe that. So that's why I have him ranked here at 71. And frankly, I'll be completely honest here, I had him about 10 spots higher than this, really. But when this is a ranking of the 2023 football team, not overall talent level on the team. This is about where the 2023 players, how we should rank them. So the red shirts get put at the bottom. I had Bray much higher than this, or 10 or 15 spots higher, because to me, he had the sort of spring which indicated he wasn't going to redshirt. He was a player. He was going to play special teams and maybe even get in the games at safety to an extent. There was buzz. The coaches like him a lot. But what happened was Alabama took the safety from UAB, Jalen Keat. And when Alabama took the safety from UAB, and now he's a guy who's definitely, you got a slot ahead of Hubbard and Jake Pope and probably even Devontae Smith in terms of safeties that are likely to play this fall on the 2023 team. So now I bumped Bray back down to what I would call a probable red shirt. Not certain, but probable. But he did, I think, put himself in a position to play this spring with buzz and with Alabama's lack of depth at safety. Bray Hubbard is a nice guess to be a future starter at Alabama. Might not be 2024, might be more like 2025. But, man, he's a check every box guy, really. Physical, fast, great instincts, and lots of want to.
You got to love a safety who has played a lot of quarterback. I mean, it's an instinctual thing, right? I mean, it's muscle memory. You're going to kind of know what quarterbacks are thinking in general. And so I think it's great when you can have because look, he played some quarterback in the Alabama Mississippi All-Star game and he wasn't bad. So he's not bad at that position. It's not like they were like, oh my God, we've run out of people. We got to put Bray Hubbard back there. No, he's just a heck of an athlete. And I think that his experience at quarterback will definitely help him at safety. And I was super impressed with his physicality, super impressed with his speed. And I talked to a few guys at the Alabama Mississippi All-Star game on the Mississippi side, and I asked them who impressed them during practice. And I would say more than 50% of them said Bray Hubbard.
Yep. I'm not surprised at all. I mean, and again, he's a product of a guy who played quarterback who just didn't play the position he's going to play in college. And I think that's what hurt his recruiting profile. And again, where he's ranked is fine. You have to remember there's roughly 260 players taken in the NFL draft each year. So if you're a national top 260 guy, that sort of means, hey, this guy's going to be drafted into the NFL. And I don't care how successful the Saban. If you have a player in your program that's going to be drafted into the NFL, even in the 7th round, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Ask other Power 5 schools. Don't let the Nick Saban experience ruin you as a football fan. It's a big deal to be drafted by the NFL. And if you're signing players who are going to be drafted, then you're going to have one heck of a college football team.
Going back to baseball just for a second, Jimmy, do you think Alabama now, you think they will host? I mean, regardless of what happens against in the rest of the SEC tournament, because they're in the double elimination portion. So, I mean, if they lose to Florida, they're still playing. I'm like you. I feel like they host, which is just an amazing accomplishment.
Right. You lose to Florida and you lose to Vandy tomorrow, and it's not even going to dent your RPI because they're so high, so ridiculously high. So, yeah, I think Alabama has clinched hosting a regional. I think Alabama's a fun national story for people. I think a lot of folks at the NCAA and people who follow college baseball root for this Alabama team because they know they're innocent. They're innocent of what happened. There's a bad guy, but it's not the bad guy's not Alabama baseball. It was one person, and I think that people kind of root for this team, and I do think we'll see Alabama host. Alabama would be hosting a regional for the first time since 2006. Pretty big deal.
Lord.
Yep.
I mean, we used to be really good. We used to be something. I used to be a contender.
And this will only be the second team to make the NCAA tournament in 9 years. Only the second time in 9 years.
That's bananas. I mean,
and it shows how this team's good, and it's not easy to do it in the SEC. The SEC is just so brutal; it's ridiculous. The two teams that didn't even qualify to get to Hoover are the last two national champions.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Can you imagine Alabama? How good would the SEC for you to say, the two worst teams in this league are Alabama and Georgia?
Yeah.
And I mean, it would take that could happen one day, but it would take years to get to that point. Not overnight, but that's literally what happened. Ole Miss, defending national champs, they didn't even make it to Hoover. Mississippi State won it the year before that, didn't even make it to Hoover. And everybody in this tournament is so good. There is no bad loss to anyone in this tournament. Everybody's very good.
For Alabama football to get that bad, we'd have to find out Nick Saban was betting on Alabama baseball or against it. All right. That's going to do it for today's episode. We'll be back tomorrow. More countdown stuff, probably some more recruiting stuff. People, I'm doing On 3, 24/7, Rivals. They're all doing a great job. Like ESPN updating their rankings and it being a lot more fluid about it. And I appreciate that because I think that's the way it should be. And so we may even talk about where some guys fall in the rankings again tomorrow. But until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.